Welcome to Thorin's YouTube channel, the one thing Fnatic TSM and T1 fans can all agree on.
If you take my advice, then the next great energy drink you'll consume is, of course, delicious gamer subs. It's sugar-free. I think it has a really smooth come up. Doesn't make me irritable like a lot of other energy drinks and formulas do. Doesn't have that horrible chemically taste. Has quite a clean taste, actually. The flavours are very easy to pick out. Doesn't have that weird sediment of it. Doesn't quite all dissolve. You shake it up enough, you can even see right through it. I'm transparent with my advertising, and did you know what? You can get 10% off everything on their website with the code Thorin, Thorin. How about this flavour? Pom Pom Punch. It's a pomegranate flavour. That's quite delicious, I've got to say. So G2's SkewMond is not just a talented rookie with potential. The eye test tells me this is the next great EU jungler. Nobody, by the way, even knows yet, actually, what the careers at the end will be like of Razork and Yike. Yeah, these are people who, you may be tracked, could have a chance to do that. Certainly their success in the game, the number of finals they've had, all pro teams, MVP consideration in terms of Razork. Yeah, you look at these players, you go, maybe they could make it. Right now, for me, they're more hovering in the category of the self-mades of the world, some of these sorts of players. But I think if you look at SkewMond, he has all the tools to be in the lineage that goes Diamond Procs, Jankos, Inspired, Elyoya. These are the guys where they're not just like, hey, he's a pretty good jungler if he has the right... No, these are the ones where it's like, they're the jungler, and if anything, the solos are lucky to play with them. The solos should adapt to them. That's how you... If anything, isn't the lesson of Rogue, like Larson should probably have adapted more to Inspired. We all thought it was Inspired's fault. You look at some of those other squads, like you see a team without Jankos, mate. G2 with Yike was nothing compared to with Jankos, and he had a way worse bottle in. Elyoya seemingly can play with anyone. You just put anyone around this guy and you find a way to the finals and or win. It's fucking bonkers because he makes you adapt to him. So I think the problem SkewMond has, that's why I'm doing this video right now, because everyone's going to be loving just going in on him and talking about how overrated he is. He is narrative collateral damage. There are bigger narratives that don't quite fit with the idea of what I'm saying he is, this mega talent super rookie. And so we have to just blame him because people expect G2 to always win. They never looked at why G2 won or why that roster worked. And everyone was loving these moves in the off-season. But all of a sudden now they always knew it was the wrong move and they should have kept all those other players. You're the ones who said Yike should be removed. You're the ones who said Mickey exits all the time. So because G2 is just expected to win all the time, apparently we can't give any other teams any credit. Well, you know what? Yeah, they were in the past 2 years a team that was like expected to be the Western hope at the internationals. By the way, they almost were at Worlds 2023. I think they could have done damage in the bracket in a way NRG couldn't. And actually at MSI 2024, that's a fucking almost set of series. They not only did beat TES, 3-zip by the way. TES was the ones who pushed Gen G to 5. But also, these are the guys who almost straight up beat the reigning world champions and eventual world champions, T1, twice. Now, I don't go off almosts. I'm just pointing out they obviously did have this like sense about them that they would get the business done or they had the real chance to do it, not whichever NA team randomly turns up. So I think SkewMond's failures and low moments are just highlighted because G2 doesn't win. They're not even comparing how Yike played compared to how he played, and especially not in their first splits. By the way, I think this guy, Afra Lavrov, who should be the biggest scapegoat, although I think Broken Blade should be second, and then Caps just for not being Caps at times. This guy's scapegoat number 2 right after Lavrov, because they're the most recent additions, aren't they? But I'll tell you what, Lavrov already played for ages in his career with loads of other people and had plenty of these problems elsewhere. He had one team he was really good in, it was called BDS. He made a fucking mistake leaving, it turns out. Now, look, I understand for his career it wasn't, but stylistically he maybe overreached, didn't he? SkewMond had a very good spring split, a pretty good winter split. By the way, for me, he would be my number 1 player in terms of jungle in the spring split. And then I watched all the people do the all-LEC, all-pro voting. He couldn't make a single tip, not even third. He couldn't even be third. And the people who put Yike first or second, I don't know what game you were watching. Holy fuck, that's just because KC was number 1 as far as I can tell. What are we doing? This is just absolute insanity. And by the way, his solos also got all-pro first team. He probably had the best top laner in the entire West, probably top 10 in the world. And Vladdy is probably the best mid laner in the LEC. SkewMond is a rookie. Consider that. He's not even done 1 season yet. But in his opening rookie season, he has made both split finals from the upper bracket, no less. And twice in the upper bracket, he has slain what looked like peak form Fnatic, who was just destroying teams, accelerating the game. And so he was behind most of the time and won those series against a demon Razork and mischaracterised, who is still generational and nobody can match him at support except maybe the best of Alvaro. Remember, it was lower bracket where Fnatic got all their confidence sapped and looked shit in some of the games. Upper bracket, they were the main team that looked like they could have beaten G2 and maybe should have, that dreaded term. But the problem is people just focus on the fact that in the two finals, his rookie finals, in his first two splits, he didn't play very well. By the way, one, yeah, I do think Yike did better than him. The other one he's playing against Elyoya, I've just said, a truly generational fucking jungler from the region. Hardly just some guy he's facing. So to me, yes, he clearly needs to still settle into or acclimatise himself to pressure play. By the way, that's even evidenced at that homestand, that Spanish homestand where they played GX. Yeah, he looked like he was pretty shook there. I'm not talking about that old school sick Lee Sin jungler for Alliance. No, he looked like, yeah, it got to him. Because he's still adapting to playing for a team like G2 expected to win and be judged by the highest standards. And literally, you're already in finals. You're already supposed to not just have a good playoff performance. So to me, you look at this tournament here. They've played one series against Gen G in terms of the main event. People just looked at the game one he had where he carried against an undefeated Gen G, who, by the way, has the GOAT jungler, arguably, in their team, who's still in peak form, and it's the opener of an MSI main event. He was fucking dope in that game one. But let's ignore that. Let's only talk about his bad game four and him having ints against, again, checks notes, the best team in the world, the odds-on favourite to win this tournament. And then in the same tournament, let's only talk about, in the plains, that shit Nunu play made, where, by the way, if you just go and watch the map, in terms of the vision they have, it's not as stupid a play as you think. He's just trying to do something when they've just got no chance to get back in the game, seemingly. I think this guy is on a phenomenal trajectory. He's better than Yike was when Yike came in 2023. By the way, Yike was not only an older player, he is 1 year younger than Caps, and he played in the RLs a bunch, but he looked way more lost and way less self-directed. It looked like they did like what Peter Dunn did for Danny and then George Opion, where they set up the game around you and let you do some of your things and try not to actually ask too much of you. Like, this guy basically had what? The best mid laner, the best bot lane, a generational bot lane in EU, by the way, and then a pretty good top laner, certainly domestically. Compare, even though some of the same names are there, compare what SkewMond has instead. He doesn't have that Caps. He has a worse Caps. He doesn't have peak form Mickey X like winter 2023. That guy was probably the MVP of the fucking league. He has Labrov, who every time he's in a pressure match does fuck all, and for me isn't even vaguely an all-pro support player. It's not just about jungle mid anymore, boys. It's jungle and support, and he has neither. And then his top laner is actually having a pretty bad run of not only finals, but now fucking international player. What's he got left? Hans Sama. And he has almost like the opposite style of jungle for Hans Sama. He doesn't have the like, I'm just your third summoner spell. I come bot whenever you say, sir. Yes, sir. Be there soon. 3 bags full, sir. He's the one who's like, listen, I'm fucking cooking something still. I'll be there in a minute if I can. You know, hold off for a little bit, 2v3. I've just got to finish this path in. Or you know what? I have to path top now, actually. Just chill. Hans Sama, you can go listen to his coach. He wants to just accelerate and smash the lane every game, then group and then win. He doesn't want to be the guy at the end in an even state late game team fight. So yeah, maybe there's a mismatch there, but I'll tell you what, if other players start playing well, they're already fucking good. They're not a terrible team. They win the matches, but then they'll be champions. It just seems obvious to me. So stop looking at what he isn't and look at what he is, because we don't get players like this in EU or the West. By the way, at this point in time, after Paris and the other players, this guy just was BDS Academy, that team that in scrims could beat your beloved G2 of last year and was basically better than everyone, including Fnatic and fucking BDS in scrims against G2 as an academy team. So this was the right pickup by G2. This was the generational player. Now, maybe you don't get rid of Mickey X. I think if you had Mickey X right now, oh baby, would you have some fucking good games coming out of this guy, even more. And by the way, that's despite... after they lost this winter finals, we should have stuck with Yike, bozo. It's Mickey X they should have stuck with. How did that work out in spring? KC champions, are they? How did that win go for them? Oh, yeah, exactly. And he has some fucking god solo laners right now, mate. And a pretty good fucking ADC too. This guy, what I love about his game is he is a control jungler. He's the guy who clearly has a plan. He clearly executes it. I would imagine he studies and looks for timers of what the opponent's going to do and builds around that in his pathing. He isn't just some dog or slave to the laners. You give him time to cook and he will produce masterpieces like Inspired has been doing for the last couple of years. By the way, Inspired himself called this guy the EU Canyon, if you don't know. That's pretty high fucking praise. And by a guy who, if he wanted, could just trash you and be like, you'll never be as good as me or whatever. No. He sees what I see, I imagine. In the same way as I used to see that in Inspired. When everyone, me and Ellis were saying, this guy's fucking as good as the Koreans. And everyone in the West was like, but rogue time. He is playing with enormous rookie pressure. He is 20 years old, and this is his first year, and he's been thrown in right in the deep end of you must win now. It's not even good enough to make the finals. It's not even good enough to be in the international cup. No, you must win or you're a bomb. I think he's already, yes, he's got to work on his poise under pressure. But in a normal game, his mentality looks really strong. He looks quite a confident player. He looks like the player who understands the game, is willing to execute on what he does, is even willing to be patient with the game. Something a lot of junglers are not, by the way. You go back and look at young Razork. Look at Razork now, for fuck's sake. Mega hands, crazy eye for a gank. But I'll tell you what, he never knows when it's too much, does he? I could shout out an infamous video. Something hands.mpeg. Too much? Yeah, a little bit too much, Razor. You sort of fucked us. Now we're dead. That's a dark reference, but you might have to know internet law to know what I'm talking about. Get this guy a better support player, and already we can talk. We can talk championships, runs at international play, world's top 8 maybe. Give him one better solo laner, or just have Caps actually come back to form. Yeah, let's also talk. Let's see what happens then. By the way, he has another year in his contract as well. Maybe eventually down the line, him and Hans just don't play together and he has more of, the Kazi type ADC where it's more about just the mid-game and the team fight. I could see that working fabulously. Wasn't Kazi and El Yoya a winning combination for a number of years? It certainly was. I think in the future, he will make his detractors look silly. And in fact, you'll all do what you always do. Once he starts winning, and he's like, by the way, this is like a player who in the future will be like a league MVP, I think. Once he starts winning, you'll all change your tune. And you always knew he was this good. And I remember he was very hyped coming out of BDS Academy, and he was in those first 2 finals his first year. And remember, they did fuck around and make a world's top 8. You'll start doing all that because that's what everyone does. No one's ever wrong on the internet, except the people who actually have the balls like me to put their opinion on fucking film, on print, in print, as it were. All you commenters just scurry away and pretend you didn't make those comments, even when you're the one who then... You're like the fucking Homer Simpson meme. You just go back into the bush and you come out and suddenly you've got the jersey on of the player you've been talking shit on all those years. Just like you all magically do now when Trophy and Night win all of a sudden, but you all told me their bombs will never be as good as Faker. They were already better than Faker in average games, you bomb. So watch this guy. Watch, learn, and understand why you're wrong. You know, I'm always rep my set, and the people who've got my back are the following people who support my videos. Matt Pugnatio Rajcula, Jasun, Jensen Goh, Tosh, Thooorin, and the all-time ride or die, Jerky's minion, isn't it? Special thanks to him. Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest for my content? Want to find out who the upcoming interview subjects are? Do you want to take part in one of those long discussions with me where you set the topics? Maybe you want to ask me a question for my video AMA? Well, all of those perks and more are available where? At the Patreon link in the description box below. So put your money where your mouth is and join the SkewMond today. You dig?